Welcome to our January 10th edition of Gold and Black Live. I want to thank our sponsors, State Farm agent Trent Johnson, Triple X on the hill but on the level, a Purdue tradition since 1929. Of course, the good folks at WLFI, Madison and Chris for helping put this together. Tom Deanhart, you join us, and we got a lot to talk about. You're doing an amazing job. I don't know how you're doing keeping track of Purdue Portal. We're going to talk about that with Tom. Then, of course, also Bruce Weber, a name that Purdue fans know well. We'll be talking some Purdue, not Purdue, but also Big Ten basketball. Willie Deane, another guy that Purdue basketball fans know well, all Big Ten level player. Tom and I were talking about, he'd interviewed him a couple of years ago. Willie led the Big Ten in scoring. We'll get caught up with Willie as well. All right, Tom, I almost hesitate to say what's the latest because an hour from now it'll be changing. But is this slowing down? And give us just a thumbnail of the numbers we've talked about so far and where Purdue is in the transfer portal game.
How much time do you have, Alan Carter?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's been the word I like to use is dizzying.
Yeah, that's a good word.
The word dizzying, but dizzying. Chaotic. How about that? That's another good word. Rapid fire. Yeah, the arrival of the commitments from the portal have come fast and furious. Since December round, there were 9 in December who committed. In the new year, there have been 19. So our grand total thus far, I have a tote board going. It's 28.
Yeah, I know you. 28.
And I've got links to every story I post. I always put a link to the current tote board. So you can look on that link to see who's signed. There's a link to the kid's bio, the story. And then I've also got guys categorized by position groups, how many defensive backs they've signed, how many quarterbacks, and then by school too. So it's kind of all broken down there. It's a lot to kind of digest for fans. And yeah, you're right, Alan. Again, 28, they're not done yet. Now, will things slow down soon? Yes, they will, because classes are going to start on Monday. Believe it or not, Alan, these guys still have to go to class. There still is an academic portion of being a college athlete. Of course, I jest, but so January 13th, classes will start. Obviously, Alan, if the coaches want these guys to go through spring football in April, they got to be students in January. So there you go. So the guys have already started moving in. There's going to be a dinner on Sunday for the whole team at 7 p.m. So it's getting real now. We could see a couple commitments over the weekend, I think. I was told there's not supposed to be anybody visiting, but there have been plenty of guys who have visited, Alan.
Yeah,
they're kicking the tires and they're still mulling offers. I think that linebacker from Colgate, there's a chance he could commit. So again, we could get a couple more over the weekend. Maybe we'll get to 30. And who knows, Alan? You may know this better than me, but I'm sure there's a grace period where you can still enroll as late as next Friday.
I think that's right. I think you have at least a week at Purdue.
So there you go. So we could get a couple of guys even trickle in the next week maybe that come aboard that can still get in school and be part of the team for the spring semester. So long story short, we're at 28 now, and we could, I wouldn't be shocked if we're at 30 or over 30 by this time next week maybe.
And will we be, again, the numbers we keep getting to with Barry Odom, of course, 50 and 55, the two numbers that he supposedly got to at UNLV. Are we going to get, because you have another period in April. Yeah. And I know this is kind of a silly question because who the heck knows, but we could get to that number close to it. I mean, that is not out of the realm of possibility.
Maybe not all from transfer portal.
Yeah.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe Barry Odom was talking about 50 portal guys. But
50 new players.
You factor in freshmen coming in. Because let's not forget, there's, I think, Alan, I mentioned this in Boiling Over yesterday.
Yeah.
There are, I think, 5 or 6 UNLV guys that they flipped, the 2025 recruits that they flipped that are here now too. And there's 2 guys that Purdue signed in December that are enrolling early too. Zaire Stevens, a running back from Akron, and Landon Brooks, a big rangy defensive end from Delta High School, Matt Painter's alma mater, who's enrolling. So there's probably 7 more guys if you consider those early enrolling freshmen, in addition to 28 portal guys. So there you are, Alan. You're close to 35 or so right there. And you're right, Alan. In April, there's another portal window, like April 16th to 25th. I fully expect a few more Boilermakers to jump into the portal then, Alan, after spring football. And then I fully expect Purdue to probably fish out a few more players themselves in April as well. It's not going to be quite as fast and furious or involve as many players as we're seeing now, but I think we will see a handful of guys come and go in April for sure, and maybe even all the way into the summer. Now, it's important to remember this. If you're a grad transfer, you can jump in the portal at any time. And it's also important to remember this, the key here is to jump into the portal. Sort of like an airplane. You got to get on the airplane before it takes off. So these guys will jump in the portal, and as long and once you're in the portal, then you can, conceivably jump out at any point you want and pick your school. You may not be able to enroll right away because of academic concerns, but again, just a lot of moving parts. And I guess what I'm trying to say is don't be surprised to see things pop here and there, even over the course of these winter months.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting storyline, certainly with what, again, Barry Odom continues to bring. I thought one of my favorite stories that you wrote this week was your top 11 guys that stayed. And of course, that's no guarantee that they're going to be playing football by the time, and who knows, they still could enter the portal in April, like you mentioned. But Mo Amanade, obviously, people know from West Lafayette, and who is a player. He's shown that he can play at this level. But I thought that was, and of course, number 45, Devin Mockabee, two of maybe the marquee guys. But what does that leave? I mean, any other guys? I mean, are there your top 11? Those are the top two, but those guys are going to be playing. Certainly, you would have to think are going to be on the field. Certainly, Mockabee will be, but and Amanade. But talk about that group, and is there a common thread of the ones that stayed at Purdue?
I think all 11 guys that are listed in that story are going to be factors.
Yeah.
This fall, not to pick Barry Odom's roster out for him, but I'm going to pick out Barry Odom's roster for him. So all you talked about, of course, right at the top, Devin Mockabee, just a guy, Alan, who's wired differently, man.
Yeah, love Devin. Hard not to love him.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, it's I'm kind of fascinated by the guy too. I'm amazed by the guy, how he carries himself for somebody so young. Just incredible. He's like 22 going on 50.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And he actually wants to go to college. I love it. I love it.
He does want that Purdue engineering degree. It's not lip.
I think that's great.
He really does. And a special guy who certainly had plenty of opportunity to leave Purdue, has the last couple of years. Always has stayed tethered to Purdue. A big key was keeping Lamar Kennard, I think, the running backs coach. He means a lot to Devin Mock. We talked about Mo. Boy, he's going to have to be the anchor on that D-line that's got a lot of questions. Some offensive linemen. I got about 2 or 3 offensive linemen on my list. Joey Tonona, the old 4-star kid from Notre Dame, from Zionsville High School, could be a special player. Bakeem Coley, another big offensive lineman. And Jaden Ball. Smiley Bradford from East St. Louis. We saw him start some games as a true freshman in the back end of that defense. A couple other guys up front, the big nose tackle, Chops Harkless, and then C.J. Madden, the Georgia transfer, only played 3 games last year because of injury. I know the other staff liked him a lot. I think he could be a player for him. Now, this team needs pass rushers desperately. You think about, Will Helt's gone, Sheeta Soleil's gone, Jair Ojada's gone, Kydron Jenkins is gone. They need somebody to come off the edge and bring some juice. They got a couple portal guys, but they may need some more help off the edge to really amp up that pass rush this year.
It's always interesting when the coaches come in, and Joe Tiller did, one of the most famous moves of players from offense to defense or defense to offense in the case of Matt Light, but getting guys in the right position. It'll be fun and interesting to see. And the guys you mentioned, I don't know how many of them could we're not talking about defensive linemen going to offensive linemen. It doesn't appear. But I think if you can step back, if you're Barry Odom and staff, and look at this thing and say, it's got to be kind of fun in its own weird way to try to put all the pieces together. It may be maddening, but it's going to be really interesting to see how he throws all this together. And you've got 3 quarterbacks in there already, and maybe more to come. All those factors are going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure. He's got to be a little bit overwhelmed at times, but you certainly would never sense it from the way he carries himself. Always has that veneer of calm and collected.
Yeah.
And like that old analogy of the duck, and you don't see the feet paddling real hard under the water. But this isn't his first rodeo. We've talked to Barry. We know his resume. He's been the head coach in the SEC, Alan. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that. So he's swam in these waters before, and he also was at a school that didn't have a lot of success. So he's been able to succeed at a place that didn't have a lot of great resources, the best talent too. So he's got a nice collection of skills and a nice resume here. I like his staff. I like the experience with Darren Hinshaw, the quarterback's coach, Josh Henson, the OC. I think Vance Vice, people have said that he reminds a lot of people of Danny Hope as an offensive line coach. And again, the defensively, they have a really young, promising defensive coordinator in Michael Shear as well. So just a nice mix of talent. A very good special teams coach too, Alan. James Shebas. So looks like he has a good staff. And you're right, they're trying to put all these pieces together, and it's got to be kind of exciting and scary at the same time. Yeah. But I think they obviously know what they want. They've got a blueprint. They know what they're looking for, how to put it together. So, that's all you can ask for. We'll see how it all looks come September, Alan, or I should say August 30th, when Ball State comes to West Lafayette. But I mean, let me tell you this: between now and August 30th, the hype train's going to go off the rails, right? I mean, how we get deeper and deeper in the off season. Everybody gets a little bit more optimistic, a little bit more optimistic. And that's what being a fan's all about, is having hope and optimism. And I think Barry Odom's arrival has certainly been a mega dose of that for the fan base.
Yeah, you don't want to count victories when you're a one-win team now from last year. But as Mike Carmen pointed out, I think in his hot take for the new year, and it will be one. Purdue will likely be 2-0. They'll have a bye week, and then head USC will be coming in here. And he said, that'll be a Friday night game. Well, that has not been determined to our knowledge. Well, we know it hasn't. They haven't set their TV schedule yet. But you're right. There'll be some optimism in that first conference game when the Trojans come to West Lafayette will be interesting. All right, give us 2 or 3 names that intrigue you. You could go into probably 20 here in terms of some of the portal guys that have come in. There have been some big name schools, certainly with Tennessee and Arkansas, Wake Forest, right, recently. But just 2 or 3 guys that we can at least wrap our minds around and say, here's a guy I'm really interested in watching.
Yeah, remember the days, Alan, when we used to do physical game programs? This is the year you certainly would need your game program, right? To look at the pictures and the photos. Yeah, you got to go with the quarterback from Arkansas, Malachi Singleton, is maybe the number one guy to watch. I'm going to call him the early favorite to be the quarterback, a 6'1", 230-pound kid, a dual threat. I know they were optimistic about in Fayetteville. We'll see if he can win the job. Like you said, Alan, there's a couple other portal quarterbacks that came here as well. The other one is E.J. Colson to watch, I think, from Central Florida. Darren Hinshaw, hand-picked from Orlando because that's where Hinshaw used to coach, so he knows Colson well. So Malachi Singleton, quarterback, Arkansas, I think for sure keep him on your radar without a doubt. And, just I think from a back end of the defense standpoint, I talked to this kid the other day, posted his video. Crew Wakely from BYU.
Yeah, interesting.
Interesting guy. 24-year-old safety. He's married, Alan. He's got a dog. He's a full-grown man, and he's been on a 2-year Mormon mission. He told me when he came to Purdue, took a visit, he had no inclination or really even real big interest in ever committing to Purdue.
Yeah.
That he commits to Purdue. And he went into some detail about why he made that decision, why his attitude changed, and why he wanted to become a Boilermaker. It's pretty interesting stuff. Fans want to go back and watch that video on our website and message board as well. So Crew Wakely, I like him. He could be a real leader in the back end for this defense. And just from just from a pure fascination standpoint, you and I may be the only people on the planet that care about this. But former Boilermaker Canadian football players.
Oh, yeah. I love we go from Manitoba to BYU. I forgot about that, right?
So there you go. So Purdue got an offensive lineman, supposedly the best Canadian college offensive lineman, who's coming. Giordano Vaccaro. How about that, Al?
Yeah.
Straight out of Sopranos. Giordano Vaccaro, University of Manitoba. I'm going to say they're called the Moose because that sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? But anyway, here comes Giordano, and yeah, I just did a quick. Nobody probably cares because when I was in college, you were working there too in the mid '80s. We had a nice run of Canadian kids because of the late Willard Wells.
Right?
Bisco, Ernie Schremeyer, Bill Hitchcock, and then later Danny Chronopoulos in the late '80s.
Yeah, I was trying to draw for that name right. Really good player.
Real good. All four of those guys are really good players, Alan.
Yeah. So that'll be a fun storyline to watch. All right, we're airing this on Friday. However, we saw a great college football game last night, and Marty Biagi's name came up a bunch last night. How about that? Of course, former Purdue assistant, but another former Purdue assistant. And I think the whole college football world's happy for Marcus Freeman, just because Marcus is a great guy, and the irony that he may be playing his alma mater for the national championship will be interesting too. But really good football game last night with Penn State and Notre Dame. But I still think if Ohio State plays like we saw anywhere close to the way they played against Oregon, they're the odds-on favorite to get the job done. But obviously, Friday's game against Texas. But how do you see that? What were any takeaways from what you saw?
God, I hate cheering for Notre Dame, Alan. Or not, but yeah, you're right. He's an easy guy to like, and he's a guy to root for. And it's not like the Irish have really been nationally relevant for 15 or 20 years. I really couldn't stand him when Holt was there in the early 90s, especially.
Yeah.
Great teams they had. But yeah, give him credit, man. He's got them poised to win a national title. It'll be their first since 1988, Alan. I remember going to South Bend that year and watching Purdue get railroaded. The name team. So yeah, been a fun storyline. Hard to think that's the same team that lost to Northern Illinois at home, and I didn't think they were that battle tested all year in the ACC, to be honest with you. And then they beat Indiana, okay, and then they beat Georgia, that's great. Georgia didn't have a starting quarterback. Notre Dame was favored against the Bulldogs, but still they won. I got it. What I'm trying, I just got to give it up and give them credit. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna quit fighting it and just say congratulations, Notre Dame. I still don't want you to win it all. And you're right. The Ohio State Notre Dame storyline would be a fun one. We'll see. But yeah, for a playoff that thus far has lacked a lot of compelling games, maybe they're all saving the best for last year, and the best for last here in this Final Four.
Yeah, Dallas with snow of all things. They had a snowstorm come through there. The game will be inside, obviously, in Jerry World, but Ohio State and by the time some of you listen to this or watch this, that game will have been turned around. I like Ohio State in that one, but Texas isn't playing far from home, and but Ohio State's got a great presence everywhere it goes. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. All right, Brother Deane, thanks so much for everything. Always enjoy it. Stay tuned to his work on goldenblack.com. It may be slowing down, but not so sure. But we'll see. And we'll look forward to segment 2. Again, we'll have Bruce Weber and then Willie Deane. Take a 2-minute break here, and we'll be back for the next segment on Golden Black Live.